Hello and welcome to the STCfit Learning Podcast. I'll be your host today. My name is Jason Galea and I'll be joined by Ben Scott. Thanks for joining us on our way to creating 1 million positive outcomes in personal training by 2030. The podcast is brought to you by STCfit Learning's Coaches Collective, a premium business mentoring service for PTs who want to attract the clients they want, earn a higher income, and have a long, sustainable fitness career. If you enjoy the episode, please like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcasting platform. A 5-star review goes a long way to helping us reach more people just like you. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
It was funny, talking about the hair, I was going to potentially get a haircut yesterday.
Yeah,
just because I can't have this on the podcast. But then I was like, no.
Tam, can you grab my beanie, please?
I'm never going to have blonde hair again. So I need as much documentation as I can get. Yeah. Podcast is great.
I'm incredibly disappointed with the pants.
Yeah, well, look,
I feel like I've been set up.
I, as a self-respecting male, I don't own, but I'm willing to try.
I was like, the boys must have something planned. Like, there's got to be something for them to check what colour we're wearing.
No, I thought we were going to be nude wrestling, so it's like, doesn't matter what I wear.
I was going to bring my boxing gloves too, but I forgot. So we have to bare knuckle it.
Yeah, I tried to go the one piece, but they're just off greys, which looks worse.
Grey on grey that doesn't match.
No, it's terrible. It's just fashion.
I feel like with trackies, like, no, obviously, it's just like there's no rules.
There's no rules.
No.
Yeah.
Nah.
I had a client before
like
this.
Green, white with orange accents.
Perfect.
Like, yeah.
Perfect. I had a client before this, and I was like, I got changed thinking I was dressing for the podcast, and I was like, this isn't the best look.
Nah,
whatever.
I reckon it works.
Yeah, no, it's good.
She didn't say anything about him. So.
How much PT are you doing now?
Probably 5 a week if you
nice.
average it out.
Yeah,
Which is
nice.
a good amount. I was just saying to Jace this morning, like, it's been fairly quiet-ish since I got back from Europe and stuff. And this week, shit's just gone. And it was the first week back into PT. I was like, awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
classic.
Pretty much always how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything comes at
0
once.
to 100, 100%.
Yeah.
And back in some teaching. Some formal teaching,
back
face-to-face.
in, yep. Yeah, it's about time. I when we were teaching last time, we were kind of like running the campuses and doing all the recruiting and stuff.
It's a lot.
So it was a bit much.
Yeah.
And then I was doing like 1 million hours of PT, and then doing a bit of online stuff and the mentoring and all that. So then I was like, I kind of thought it was shit, but I think it was just the workload was shit.
Yeah. Juggling everything.
So then I was like, oh, fuck it. We'll just get in and like do the teaching part.
Yeah.
So yeah, start next week again. But it doesn't seem like it's changed, so I'm very confident.
Still very unorganised.
Yeah, it's like, so do I need no, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Watch this seminar tomorrow. I was like, yeah, cool. All right.
Is it at Good Life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back at Point Cook.
Yeah. So you'll just present.
That place just has a fucking gravitational force.
Yeah.
It's like the last 2 years, it's just fucking been pulling me.
Did you get a membership there with the teaching thing?
I don't know, actually. I'm sure that like I could just,
Yeah.
not that I want to go there.
It's some perks.
Like to train it, that is. Like just in case.
So it'll just be like, here's the stuff from the book, and now we'll teach you how to be a good PT.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah. So it's you get a book with the answers. So and then every now and then they fuck it up and they put a teacher book in the student books, and then there's always one in the class that's got it.
Yeah.
And you can tell by the answers they give, and I'm like, kiss your book.
Yeah.
You got the fucking answers. It's not how it works. I get the answers. Yeah.
That's so good.
Not that I need the answers though, right?
Yeah. Only on Anatomy Day.
For some.
What's going on with you boys? What's news out there?
Well, we
It's
just...
pretty similar, actually.
Yeah.
It was like, it's all happening in a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good. It's been picking up, been getting busy.
Yep.
I feel like we always have multiple things on the go. And then, as Jace was alluding to, sometimes those multiple things all seem to pick up at the exact same time. So it's good.
Yeah. Then you have your little lulls, but then you're like, oh no, I know something's happening. Something's around the kiln.
Yeah. When it's quiet, it's almost bad.
Tam says that all the time. It's just like,
You're like,
Hang
I'm
on a
scared.
minute.
yeah, we
Like,
forgot
why?
something.
It's like this week was too easy. What's happening?
100%. But no, we're getting, it's amazing. We sort of spoke about coming into now, I think hopefully this summer, we've got a bit more momentum. Whereas everything, so when we got out of lockdown and everything like that was more like, all right, let's consolidate. Let's get to what we need to get to. And now it's like, cool, we're going to be hopefully hitting the ground running as well
Yeah.
with some exciting projects.
Did you give the whole gym COVID?
I tried. No, no, just me. Which wasn't ideal. It's been a rough few weeks.
Yeah, because then I didn't get off you, but I then got it. So we pretty much just worked out all right. We just tag teamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good news is we
Whatever,
both got COVID, and the gym didn't burn down. So I was like, because you're always like
That's a good
scared,
start.
like, oh, what happens if we're not there? Turns out it was fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's the silver lining.
Yeah. So you guys are basically off the tools, or you're still running the? I see you obviously running the athlete stuff.
Yeah, still doing the athlete stuff. No, still coaching.
Yeah.
I guess we're slowly trying to
Mm.
transition back a little bit and work more the business side of things.
Yeah.
But still coaching. And I don't think we'll never not coach. I think we
Yeah.
enjoy that element to things.
Definitely. But yeah, I think, over the next 6 months, we'll probably coach a little bit less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
How are you guys going staff wise? Because it seems to be no one can find trainers or.
Yeah,
Anything
I mean,
anyway.
good. In that we have good stuff, so we'll
Yeah.
try to keep them. That's the first thing. And then I think the good thing for us is similar, I guess, to you guys as well, because we've been doing the intern thing for a while. We do have a pool of people to pull from.
Yeah.
I think we'd be pretty reluctant to just like chuck a job ad up because from all people that we speak to, not having a lot of success with that.
Advertising's crazy.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I feel like that whole section of the industry during COVID is just gone.
Yeah.
Like the people that we would potentially want to hire just don't exist. So luckily we've got a little pool of people to pull from that we've kind of trained up ourselves. So that's always helpful.
Such a good time to start right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like everyone's crying out for trainers. There's so many like smaller gyms like you guys that have good communities that you can plug into and learn from. Like even like the Good Life clubs that we're talking to. Like I'm getting a message once a week. I don't know about you. Like, hey, do you have a trainer you can put here or can put there? And we're like, nah, sorry. They're all doing like 40, 50 sessions in whatever gym they're in because they just tried a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Because we'll train around the corner at a big box gym just to be able to obviously get out of our own environment and not feel like we're at work all the time. And the same thing. It's like, do you guys know any coaches and everything? And I think they are slowly going to more that private sector, more of that one-on-one, semi-private sort of coaching.
Yeah. Because even the course we're teaching's only got 2 students.
Yep.
It's not very enticing to get into the industry now, though.
No.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't.
outside
It
of the-
doesn't appear to be, but
when
I
you're
think,
in it and you know the stats and you can hear the voices, but like if you look at it from someone on the outside
just
looking in
watched
over the
the
last
last-
2-3 years, it's like, hang on a minute, like
Yeah.
first to close down, last to open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
not quote unquote essential until people
Yeah.
make it that way. So it's like I don't blame them for not
Being
really
hesitant.
kind of want. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? Like,
And
Go
the
get-
people,
go get a real
that,
job.
yeah, the people that are coming should be coming through now are the ones that would have started their PT course 12 months ago, and it's like you would not be looking at that horizon going, oh, there's heaps to do over
there's
there.
job security and
Yeah.
all the perks.
Yeah, high income and job security.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I wonder if it'll stop like so many people going into like exercise sports science as well. Because like there's always like so many graduates,
you
right?
kind of always want to put a sign out the front, like on the days they sign up. It's like, don't
Don't
make
do
the
it.
same mistake I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to be a personal trainer, I remember at uni, like every subject I went to, every semester was just like, there's not a lot of jobs in this, and you don't make a lot of money. But here we are. Like, okay, so why the fuck am I here then?
Yeah, it's crazy. But I feel like the other thing is like most people that study exercise sports science don't want to be personal trainers.
Nah, they want to.
They end
Most
up
of them
that
go.
Yeah, this
like
is-
Like
well,
I did. Like I was speaking for myself when I got to it, and I was like, I don't want to be a personal trainer.
See, I did it to be a personal trainer. It's like
That's
about
rare,
doing
though.
it the hard way. So it's like, and I did a fucking sports admin degree before it. So I did a double degree.
And that was
picked
that
picked that way.
business? Like a
Yeah,
business
yeah,
element?
yeah.
Probably helpful though.
A lot of
Definitely.
essays. Taught me how to write well.
It helps us because I can't write. Jason
Oh.
fixes everything that I write.
The same.
Yeah.
Need to proofread my own stuff and then get someone else to proofread my proofreading to make sure it's all
Yeah.
above
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, most people do sports science would like. I reckon 80% of them would go into teaching.
Yeah.
And just do PE teach because what do you do like a Bachelor of Education after
Yeah.
it or like just like a diploma?
The dip ed,
I think it's
yeah.
a master's now.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they used to have it
Yeah,
where
it was just like a year.
It used to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
it used to be 6 months, and I was like, why didn't I do that?
yeah, yeah. Still pinch
Imagine.
myself. I was like, why? That's
Nah,
all right.
look,
Handy to have.
My wife's a teacher. That's not for me.
Yeah, I say like, why didn't I do it? I reckon I'd last like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too much politics.
Yeah,
Can't-
too much
not
drama.
for me. Yeah, work for myself.
Such a like solid hierarchy in that environment would be.
It's just the feedback.
Yeah.
Everything has to be like really positive and constructive. You can't call people out for like doing shit even though they're wrong. It's like, oh well, in this situation, when someone does this, we would want to do this. And it's like,
Yeah.
can't you just say, hey man, just in regards to that, like you fucked it up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Be less
just don't
shit.
do it. Yeah, like just next time have a look at this. But that's fucking
Yeah.
like I'm attacking people.
Yeah.
It's like fuck.
So it's called a microaggression, Jason.
Oh really? Yeah.
Tough.
I don't even know a microaggression.
There you go. It's a
existed.
thing. Yeah,
I think
there you
that's
go.
like looking at someone aggressively. The wrong
Oh,
way.
really?
It's a microaggression.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there's.
You can't even sit there and tell someone just like, hey, in regards to this,
No.
like you fucked it up.
Personally, it's one of those things that just exists on the internet that people get mad about, but I don't experience it in real life.
No,
It's like one of those
that's a new
things.
term, microaggression.
Microaggression. And that just evolves into full blown anger
Yes.
aggression.
So it's like
Yeah,
it's like words.
macroaggression.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
macroaggression, like flipping the
I don't know
table.
where that kind of tips over.
evolution of
yeah,
aggression.
Yeah. It's like
Micro and macro really kind of ends of the spectrum as well. There's got to be middle ground, right?
yeah.
Just aggression.
There's there's many steps between
Mesoaggression.
like looking at you versus speaking sternly to you to like speaking aggressively at you
Yeah, yeah.
and then punching you in the face. Like there's a few stages that have got to be gone through.
It's like a crazy
100%.
concept. Because even now, it's like it's not about what you say; it's about how someone feels about what you said.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
here we go.
So how do you navigate that? It's like,
Well,
oh, hang on a minute. You
Fuck,
should
how
have
long's
been more
this
aware
fun?
that somebody could have misinterpreted what. You're like,
Yeah.
how you can't win.
Yeah.
Luckily, we live in an industry that doesn't really have HR.
No.
No.
We always joke
Yeah.
that like the HR manager is just me when I put on glasses.
Yeah.
It's like,
Someone
here we go.
someone said to me the other day, like, "Oh, you'll be sent to HR." I was like, "I am HR."
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Feel
I feel
free
like-
to
good
make
on-
your complaints.
It's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Tam's our HR.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Tam keeps us in line. Just cut shit. He's like, no, can't say
Can't
Can't
that.
say that.
Yeah. I feel like we're pretty good though. Like,
Yeah.
if yesterday was anything to go by. Like,
Yeah,
Wow.
we're pretty good. We
Yeah.
don't. I mean, we say some disgraceful things, but they're not about any minorities.
No, half
Yeah.
the time
That's the
we
key.
just take the mickey out of ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
self-deprecation, right?
Yeah,
that's
it.
fine.
That's the best
That's-
kind.
Yeah, correct.
So, good segue, Max.
Yeah.
So, Carl's Instagram is actually quite boring after today. Not in terms of like not
well,
bad content, but
no.
like, you're not upsetting anyone.
No, look,
we should
I was
probably
like,
have a
here we go.
disclaimer.
I was like, the boys must just ruffle feathers all the time.
Nah.
And I went on to Max's
not-
and I was like, got a couple here. Jace is going to fight Max more than me. This is good.
Yeah.
Go
one
on
of
here.
us. Oh no.
And then, and
Are,
then I
we,
was
here, are
like,
we here to fight each other? Is
yeah,
that what we-
that's the goal. So
Okay.
Max and I have been having discussions, and because it's on the internet, we're actually going to fight over
Okay.
different training modalities.
good.
now.
Well, are we going to mediate?
Oh, I was wondering why I hadn't really heard much about what we're talking about today. It's just
We're
these
fighting.
guys
Yeah,
have a-
just we're going to see
these
who
guys have a
can
fight.
yeah.
Who
It was
can get
early,
thrown through the
last
table
week
first.
or earlier this week. When was it?
I don't know. I do it fairly consistently.
Yeah.
You know when like sometimes on TV shows and stuff, they have like the views of this person and not necessarily shit. That's kind of how like my Instagram should be. It's like the views of Max are not necessarily representative of what Carl thinks or what the Performance Hub thinks or what anybody else thinks. He's
Yeah.
a loose
Yeah.
cannon.
No, I need to correct myself. Your page isn't boring. It's
No,
just
I-
not provocative like
No.
Max's.
Carl's a nicer human than I am. Like we can all just like put that out there.
He's the yin to your gang, you know.
Yeah,
Just-
For me, I just don't have. It's like playing sport and there's a little scuffle. It's like I just don't have the energy because it's a lot of energy to be involved in those things. Where
Yeah.
sometimes you're just like, I just.
It's how I get
he's
my
the me.
dopamine.
Yeah.
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 Ben, go argue with this guy. I can't be bothered.
Then
Yeah.
there's a comment. Can you fight with them? Yes.
Yeah, because
I
I'll
can.
say one thing and I'm just like, oh, the stupidity. I'm out.
Can't deal.
Jace's reply will just be, "You're a fuckwit."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Which is fair.
I don't deal with fuckwits. I'm out. Bye.
Which is fair. Whereas like I like quite enjoy.
You got to feed the algorithm.
Yeah.
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 Just stir them up even more.
Yeah.
I like stirring it because like a lot of the time I'll just put it out there on Instagram, and then I just don't check Instagram for a while, and like come
watch what
back, the
happens.
DMs are blown. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah. Look, I think, and I won't name names. There's other people out there who are deliberately targeting that angle of the provocateur.
Yeah.
But I think you walk a line of still being valuable.
Is someone stealing my car?
I'll name them. It's fine.
Someone stealing my car?
Yeah, we got Karl on.
Yeah, we actually set this up.
We got
They
an
only-
idea we can
they only
plug to the
brought-
boys later.
They only brought one car and off they go.
And you won't catch us if we're in dash cars.
So I inflation through the roof. I'll get more than I paid for it. So
The Skoda will get him. We'll get you. So can you remember the full post? Because it was along the lines of basically stop whinging that you have to train Gen Pop when you are one. To
Yeah.
personal trainers.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. But
we should have brought some popcorn in.
no,
and
I
Jason and I
actually,
can just be here.
I'm pretty hungry too. Like, I actually was concerned that you're going to start to hear my gut churn. So I just haven't had a chance to eat post workout.
yeah.
Body's eating itself.
No, so what I said was, and the angle that I went with is not because I think where people get upset is they think that I'm using Gen Pop in a disparaging way. And the point of my post was that to me, Gen Pop is in fact not a disparaging term at all.
Yeah, and it's also the person that's saying they don't want to train Gen Pop is Gen Pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And I go, like, how define Gen Pop?
Yeah.
It's like, to me, when I think about like what you need to do to train Gen Pop people, it's you need to treat them as humans and you need to consider the bigger picture, which is, you know, outside stresses. Like, you know, we say training is stress. You need to adapt to the stress. Yeah, working a stressful job also impacts that. Your family life, your relationship, your financial situation, whatever else are all relevant.
Yeah.
So when people say like, oh, I don't want to train with Gen Pop, I'm like, well, you are Gen Pop. Like most people are Gen Pop.
Yeah.
And I think if you accept that, you'll get better results for your clients, but also you probably get better results for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when there's more Gen Pop. When you look at it categorically, it's like you have a greater pool of people to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think a couple of people that messaged me back were like butthurt because they identified themselves as an athlete.
Yeah.
So and when I was just like, okay, so you don't agree with his definition of like what Gen Pop an athlete is, like that's
Yeah, I got a
is that
few,
worth getting upset?
I got a few bite backs about that because I said like you're probably not an athlete and you have more in common with your Gen Pop clients than you do with elite athletes, which I 100% stand by. And I said, you know, I put in like the highly paid thing. And the reason I put that in, not that I'm not trying to cast like a value judgment on what people choose to do. But I'm saying if you, let's say, for example, you train 4 hours a week for your sport, but you work 40 hours a week in your job.
Yeah.
And if you want to say, hey, I'm an athlete, I'm like, cool. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't be. It's 2022. Do whatever you want. Be who you want to be. Your pronoun is your pronoun. Your identity is your identity.
No microaggressions.
Exactly. Like, but at the same time, if you were my client, I would treat you as a Gen Pop client. And you can be upset about that as much as you want. But I think that is just the facts as they are.
Yeah, so your definition of Gen Pop then is basically someone who you need to consider external factors when within the approach to their program.
The result's not they're not willing to do absolutely everything necessary to get the result.
And they don't have the ability to do that even if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Like that's the big thing. Like, you know, you can say I have an athlete mindset and, you know, I'm doing athletic things. Absolutely. I'm all about that. But why I think sometimes the financial side is actually relevant, because if someone's full-time job is to train, eat, sleep, and that's it, well, yeah, they have more resources available to dedicate to just those activities.
Yeah.
How you
probably
approach
don't.
that's so different too.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, we say this all the time, and like, how much do you want me to upset the people of the podcast?
Send it.
Well, mate,
there is a
maximum on the scale.
There is a plug at the end, so that not everyone, but just
Okay.
we can make friends with some people that
Yeah.
agree with you.
Okay. And again, great. And again, like, I don't make value judgments. Like, I consider myself like, yes, of course, I would be Gen Pop. It's fine. People would say, but like, oh, I'm a national level competitor. And I'm turning around, I'm like, in what?
Yeah.
Like, that is the big question, because in certain activities, certain fringe sports, it is not actually that difficult comparative to other sports.
Talking about powerlifting, actually.
Yes, I'm talking about powerlifting. I was like, and like, because people say that, oh, like, when people say like, oh, are bodybuilders athletes? I'm like, I don't know, bodybuilders are bodybuilders. Like, that's a different breed again. Like, they are very disciplined, very dedicated, requires a lot of work. Is it the same as athlete? Probably. I don't really care. But then people go, oh, you know, powerlifting. I'm like, that's great. But the talent pool is far smaller. there's far more federations, and you do have the ability to reach that level a little bit easier.
Yeah.
When we talk about like, you know, your
To go home and edit my lead page. About all the national level lifters I've had.
No, and again, like I think that's a brilliant achievement, and I'm not trying to take away from it. But what I am trying to say is, if you are trying to do that, and you are also working a job and doing these other things, like you need to factor in those things.
Yeah.
Like it's not the same as somebody who is getting paid like $30 million a year to shoot basketball. Like your lifestyle is completely different.
Yeah, well, in saying that, every national and international total like lifter that I've had have all been like Gen Pop style.
Yeah, of course.
You still have, in that definition, like you still have to consider external factors in their programming.
And I mean, you do for athletes as well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's just that they have more resources available to dedicate to training.
Yeah. So that would be my next question. Like both of you guys have worked with what we would, by this definition, call an athlete.
Yeah.
How much and I know you've like done at least VFL level and stuff. Like,
Fuck, is not a good.
I remember we had this conversation.
how much are they actually adherent, even when they are highly paid?
They are when their career depends on it, obviously.
Yeah.
The other flip side is, and again, this is because I'm not in this category either. You're talking about people who are genetically gifted.
Yeah.
And here's the because people would blow up my DMs as well about this, and they'd go like, "Oh yeah, but it's so much harder to be a Gen Pop coach because like, if you work with elite athletes, like you just tell them what to do and they do it perfectly." And I'm like, okay, you've clearly never worked with athletes before. And there's this idea that like, oh, anybody could do that. I'm like, no. People that are working with elite athletes as coaches are very, very good coaches. Let's just put that out there. They are there for a reason. That is the general rule. Like, if you put LeBron James in the gym, he's not going to do perfect squat, bench, and dead. Like, he's not. But you know the difference between us and LeBron? When we stand on the ground and jump, we'll go like 40 centimeters in the air. If we're lucky, he'll go over a meter.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference, right? And there are very, very, very few humans who can do that. And very few humans that can do that when they're like 6'10" and 115 kilos, right? It's not the norm. So when you're talking about like guys at that level, yes, they are dedicated, disciplined, more so a lot of the time for the sport than the training. That's probably a key distinction. But they are also at a higher level in terms of physical performance.
Yeah.
And that's just like
Do you subscribe to the idea that like coaching brings like that second tier, third tier athlete up
That's what.
Yes.
more so than improving the top tier?
I was just searching then. That's what Pat was talking about in
Yeah.
his post yesterday.
Yeah,
Yes.
which I
It's
agree.
like the
100%.
top of the cream of the crop are always going to be
Yep.
just genetically gifted, and
Yeah.
they're going to be there for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's like the way you coach them, and
Like Anthony Cruz is always eventually going to total 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Like Will Crozier is always going to be Will Crozier. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what they sort of do. It's that kind of person that totals 600 can now total 750 with good coaching versus 650 with not good coaching.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think like some people, in fact, are so successful in spite of what they do, not because of what they do.
Yeah.
Like to use LeBron as well. Like, you've probably seen his Instagram where he's like doing like Bosu ball squats and shit. And you're like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
It's because he is just genetically superior and better than everybody else. And that's a bitter pill for people to swallow.
I think that the hard part too is like having been in a mindset where when I was competing, I would have called myself an athlete because it was like super high on the priority list. Looking at even like AFL players and stuff, and like I had friends that were in the industry and they're like, oh yeah, we're doing their nutrition. I'm like, oh, what do you do? Like, oh, we're just teaching them to have a protein shake after training. I'm like, what? They don't measure anything, no macros, no nothing. Like, we just try and stop them from drinking beer and they have protein after training. And I was like, what the fuck? So I have soccer mums that are more diligent with their approach than like these people that are on fucking 500 grand a year.
Say pre-workout for a game.
Yeah.
This gives them energy.
Yeah.
So mates of mine.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, can you not breathe after a little bit? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just tired.
Just tired.
Yeah, I mean, don't confuse like really good performance with intelligence. Like,
Yeah.
they're not the same thing.
100%.
You're right in that way. But even Jace could probably attest to this as well. You look traditionally like best bodybuilders ever, right? How many of them were like tracking macros versus being like, oh yeah, like I have a cup of rice. I have a cup of this. But they just do it consistently.
That was your stomach, wasn't
My
it?
stomach's
Yeah,
going.
that's so good.
It's a popcorn
so
talk.
hungry.
But things like that, like, I don't know, who's the best bodybuilder ever? People would argue Ronnie would be right up there, right? He was like, he's never weighed shit.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh yeah, just put like cups of rice in here and do this.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he trained like an animal and he was good with his food.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he didn't have to be as precise as other people perhaps have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that's a bitter pill for people to swallow again, but
Yeah.
it is the truth. Which, sucks sometimes because you watch these guys and you're like, how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How?
And then you've got, athletes on the other end who might not be genetically gifted, and they will do anything to get that marginal competitive edge. Invest so much resources, time, energy into recovery, nutrition, all that sort of stuff, just so they can actually perform
Even close.
just
even
a
close.
little bit.
And it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
And you feel, you sort of like, you've done it, you've done everything you possibly could.
Yeah.
Rinsed as much out of what
Yeah.
your body's physically capable of
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
That's when we start having the conversation of like, just beat you from yesterday,
Yeah.
which is what I've told myself for
Yep.
10 years. I think like,
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately going backwards though. Like Max from
Yeah.
10 years ago would have,
Yeah.
what a specimen.
Yeah, the Facebook memories, and you're
You're
like,
like, oh God.
Jesus.
Oh, I was in good shape there.
What's happened?
Yeah.
But no, I think if I had to wrap all that up, it's not don't be an athlete or don't try and be an athlete. It's don't use Gen Pop as a disparaging term when you, in fact, have far more in common with your Gen Pop clients than you do with elite
Yeah.
athletes.
Yeah.
Especially if you are a personal trainer who probably sleeps terribly, probably, does like split shifts every day, is highly
Yeah.
stressed,
Yeah,
worried
yeah.
about all this stuff. It's like, look, buddy, you're probably Gen Pop.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll direct it's Max's post, but I'm going to direct it at Karl. The idea of like training someone for like sports specific training.
Yep.
Is it a thing?
No. Well,
That's hard for Karl to say as well. He wants to be he wants to be so nice.
That's the end.
It depends.
That's
No,
the end
it
of the
depends.
conversation.
That's
No.
it.
So what sport?
What did I say?
determine sports specific?
Well, that's what we're.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sports specific is going to mean different things to different people. But for me, sports specific is doing the sport.
Yeah.
So
So you're not
training.
bring the sport to the gym.
No, yeah, correct, exactly. We're not just kicking footies around or what throwing basketballs around. At the end of the day,
Surely we could
You're-
attach like a band to your foot.
Oh,
so you go
yeah.
through the kicking motion.
the cables when they're doing on a Bosu ball
The wood
and all
chopper.
that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Wood choppers
Golf
so you're better at golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
There's nothing
get the
hones,
science.
Get the golf grip handle out.
yeah, nothing hones like fine motor control like adding load.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And then you wonder why
Yeah.
your swing's all out of whack.
It's because you're weak. It's because you're weak.
Mentally. That's it. No, so I think sports specific, no. Specific training, yes. There is, there is a time for us to be more specific depending on the training age and the person. And again, we use that. I think we did it with the toothpaste analogy.
Yeah.
You got the whole tube. We don't have to push too hard to get anything. But when there's, not much left, we've got to be a bit more purposeful in terms of getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
But with the sport-specific training, at the end of the day, you performing the skill, technical, tactical side of it is going to be the best thing that's going to elevate your game.
Yeah.
Because that's, at the end of the day, game day, it's heavily reliant on the skill.
Yeah.
We can't train that specific quality in a gym setting. We can build the physical qualities that are going to helpfully elevate that and take it to another level. And like you said, if you haven't been blessed with the genetics, that's probably going to get you to point B a lot faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually practicing the skill and refining the skill is going to be the best thing for it. So sports specific,
Yeah.
no,
Not yet.
it's a gimmick.
So we'll go around the room. Everyone close their eyes, put your hand up. No, I'm kidding. Is bodybuilding a sport?
I don't care if it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
I agree with Jess.
Yeah.
I don't.
Something.
It's like
It's just
what's
the thing.
Yeah, it's just like, well, what do you get out of categorizing it as one
Defining
or
it.
not? It's like
Yeah.
it's just people who just want to shit on something that they probably don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter if it's a beauty pageant, if it's a performance, if it's a sport, if it's a combination of all three of those. It's like it's something that people like to do.
Yeah.
It gives them a bit of purpose at times, and
Yeah.
gives them
Yeah, it's
something to work
interesting.
towards.
The only reason I ask is like, would you talk about sport-specific training?
Mm.
That's probably it's probably like if bodybuilding is determined a sport, like it's maybe number one, and then like powerlifting, ollie lifting, it's like number two. maybe CrossFit's up there because you just do random shit all the time if you're a shit coach.
Yeah.
But like those things are actually like training a bicep curl. Is that sport specific or is it just posing?
Task
Like-
specific, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm.
I mean,
Sport-
I don't
yeah.
know. Like people like ask that all the time. Like, is bodybuilding sport or bodybuilding athletes? I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a bodybuilder. All the bodybuilders I've encountered
You
are
sure?
like a different breed. Yeah, I'm sure. I've been trying. But they're a different breed, right? I would almost put it in its own category.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's
different thing.
similarities between different things, but the shit bodybuilders have to do, and all the things combined together, it's pretty unique. Like, yes, there's like an aesthetic component. Yes, there's obviously a performance component to actually get to that point. And there's a ridiculous component to get yourself in the condition that you need to be.
Yeah.
I don't think any other sport really has that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's another sport that's like you're at your worst physical health on game day.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, at your peak.
yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah.
Sumo wrestling, maybe?
Yeah.
But-
Super heavies in powerlifting.
yeah. But I mean, people get upset because I know like there's that thing where in strength and conditioning, we'd be like, there's that thing where it's like, oh, powerlifting, like training is a sport. And then powerlifting's like, training's not the sport. It's like, okay, cool. Like both sides are wrong, both sides are right.
Yeah.
The training has far, far more in common with the sport. We could all agree on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where like sometimes people are like, oh, I'm a strength coach. It's like, well, who do you coach? Powerlifters. We're probably a powerlifting coach.
Yeah.
Because to me, if you're a strength coach or a strength and conditioning coach, you are improving someone's physical attributes with the goal of them going and then getting better at something else.
Yeah.
So it needs to be more general deliberately.
Yeah, we had that conversation with Gavin Howard ages ago. And I said like I specifically was like I'm a strength and body composition coach, not conditioning because like I don't know how to do conditioning. It's not my forte.
Well, what
But
is
I can get you.
conditioning?
I can get you
'cause that's
stronger.
a big balloon.
Yeah, but it's like I can get you stronger and get you in better body composition.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
Generally helps people with sport.
Yeah, well, that helps too. Yeah, but I wouldn't go as far as to say like I can. Like I'm not talking about energy systems and shit when I'm writing programs. It doesn't even cross my mind. So I guess
Neither
it's,
do I.
It's a hard, like, again, we're conditioning. What is conditioning? Like, yeah, we can think energy systems, but are we conditioning in the sense, are we preparing that individual for the demands of whatever that activity is?
yeah.
So
Strength could be part of that, though.
strength
right?
can be part of it.
That's-
So
yeah.
it's just like, well, obviously conditioning to be a golfer is going to be different to be conditioning to be a boxer. So a boxer's not going to be a conditioned golfer. Golfer's not going to be. So there is that as well, element to it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, now in the industry, they don't even use that term all that much. Like, if you get a job, it's not your job's not strength and conditioning coach. It'll be like physical preparation coach, physical performance coach, physical performance manager. They'll just make up words,
Fancy.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I had the same job,
I'm gonna
and like
change
the
that.
job title changed like 3 times.
I'm gonna change my Instagram bio when I go home.
Yeah, physical
Executive-
preparation manager,
Executive performance manager.
vice president of gains.
You put up a post about why you train in the half kneeling position.
I did.
Yes.
Oh.
A while ago.
Okay.
So, firstly, why would you train in a half kneeling position? And then secondly, just so like, because Jace always says when we talk about athletic stuff, he's like, so I don't get to talk today. Is there any benefit to a bodybuilder training in a half kneeling position?
Why would you do it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, why would you train in any position? That's like the bigger question, right? So, when you go, it's not like there's anything super beneficial about it in isolation. Like, it's not like, hey, stop doing anything else and just get on one knee. Like, that's
Always. Bicep curls, half kneeling.
No. However, sometimes you can cue people till the cows come home, but then it's far easier to just put people in a position where the right things are going to happen regardless.
Yeah.
And that to me is kind of what happens in the half kneeling position if you do it right. So it's far easier to create, when you talk about like a stacked position, okay, doing that standing under load, as you fatigue, you're probably going to lose the position a lot faster. From a half kneeling position, it's easier to achieve that position. It also creates a little bit of awareness when you're actually doing it. You can feel if you lose position. You can feel if you lose balance, things like that. In terms of, is there benefits for a bodybuilder to do it? Directly, no. I would probably say you're not going to get any better hypertrophy from training that position. The flip side to that be indirectly, like, would you be able to press and get your scapula moving better, which could, in theory, create healthier shoulder movement, which can ward off injury, then potentially yes. But I wouldn't be like, hey, if you want to make the Olympia, the one thing you're missing is half kneeling press.
Half kneeling landmine press specifically.
Half kneeling landmine press, like
the little pull downs.
Yeah. If you need to bias that portion of your lat. No, like that would probably be the caveat. So like, no, not directly, but indirectly, like I think you could find a benefit for it.
What amount of that stuff do you put in your programming for bodybuilding athletes?
For me, 0. That's why I train myself at the moment.
0 health.
A very small portion.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's still, like, we talk about the Venn diagrams and just like where you place yourself within strength, growth, and function. It's like we kind of sit most of the time between, like, more in the growth part, sometimes towards growth and strength, and then sometimes it will deviate to function more so than, and strength more so than growth. I think it just depends on where they are in their preparation for whatever it is. Like if they have a time sensitive goal, then it's easy to periodize. It's like, yep, cool, push as hard as you can to the event. Afterwards, you're going to have to go through this phase of like getting a little bit more function back, because shit falls by the wayside, especially like contest prep or something like that, where people are, really just, all we're looking at is volume, load, and calories.
Yeah.
And then for your more general pop clients, call it more general pop, you're really just making that assessment. It's just like, well, how much value is adding in those exercises in replacement of these hyper specific movements for that person? And generally, they're not going to need to have that hyper specificity, and having those movements that are going to carry over probably going to be beneficial. So it's probably going to be a little bit more single leg movements and a little bit more of that, like, kind of split kneeling, working on shoulder health and stuff like that. And that's just how you program it. Put it in the start of the workout as a warm up. It's like, cool. It's like there's still a crossover benefit to the rest of the workout. Yeah. And then the rest of the workouts as, bro, or as bodybuilding, as specific as people want it to be.
Yeah, I think with obviously the clientele that I tend to work with is sort of that, I don't know, they're half gen pop? Like they're halfway down the spectrum?
No, they're gen pop. They're
really opened a massive can of worms.
They just are gen pop.
But just, like the type of people that are serious about their training but aren't an athlete. It's like typically the biggest thing you'll run into with the people I train is like they want more all the time. They always want more volume. So it's like, cool, you can have a half kneeling landmine press and you can have a single leg glute thrust. Like it's all drills. But while they're doing it, it feels like training, and it's like they look at their workout and it's like, oh, there's lots of exercises, there's lots of sets. It's not necessarily the rest of where I'm actually like managing fatigue and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, I can give you this. It probably doesn't affect your recovery over the week. Yeah. So I'm going to fan it in there, and you will get a nice like glute pump or shoulder pump or whatever. But the fatigue and recovery demand is really low. So we can kind of weave it in that way.
Yeah. I like it.
Yep. And that's the same for powerlifting. It's just like similar for the comp prep, just like the closer you get in, the less of that stuff they have.
Generally, yeah.
With the set thing, do you guys have like working sets and then like stimulatory sets and ones that just aren't effective? Because like I find that like I'll program like 15 sets for my clients. Doesn't mean they'll do 15 sets in a workout. Like they could do like 22 because 7 of them aren't stimulatory enough. Like, correct. So I know sometimes, depending on the client and the goal, communicating that's really important, because they're just like, oh, I did that first set and it was really easy, so I just did 2 more. It's like, no, you got to do 3 sets that are like, you know, the first rep and the last rep are significantly different. Yeah. And it falls in line with the rep and reserve or the reps to failure or the RPE or whatever.
All of my program sets should be to the prescribed rep and reserve.
Yeah. We have communicating, like, that's pretty important though.
Working sets, right? So it's like, if we say you're doing 4 sets of this, it's like,
these are all working sets.
4 working sets. It's not, hey, I did 1 set because I took 3 sets to warm up. It's like, that's great. Definitely do your warm up sets.
Yeah.
But
good job.
Yeah. Set 1 starts when it's a working weight. The other ones don't. They don't really count.
Yeah. That's that whole like don't assume though, right?
No.
100%. Yeah.
So he's like, warm up or ramping sets before we get to our working sets.
We had one of our girls show up to the lift off, and like we'd given them a protocol to warm up, like a template with everyone on it.
So easy to put the working weight in, and it'll just tell you, do this many reps for this much.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So she's like, is this how I'm supposed to warm up all the time? I'm like, yeah.
You're like, hang on, what have you been doing?
These deadlifts felt so easy. I'm like, what? So yeah, we nipped that in the bud pretty quick.
Oh boy.
Just like straight first set, working weight. Let's go.
Yeah. It's really
I
amazed.
love it.
I'm amazed we got there.
Oh.
Oh, we did.
Why not?
Which is very strong. So
Nah,
look,
it's good.
We got there.
maybe it's
good.
a thing.
It's good.
Actually, no, I'm not going to ask that one. I want to talk about something else.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. I was like, that'd be a rabbit hole.
Yeah, the compression expansion thing. Meh, who cares?
It's a myth.
I'm gonna go get something to eat.
Yeah.
You guys talk about that.
Yeah,
to be
well,
honest.
the point was it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I do want to open, because it's like the internet's favorite argument at the moment, is the optimal, non-optimal kind of crowd that's
Yeah.
forming at the moment.
Just
How
oozing.
upset he
I-
gets.
It's just
we,
oozing
just
salt.
we just don't care.
It's just oozing salt. Like it's just like, oh. All
All
right.
right, take it away, Max.
Oh.
What do you mean?
I'm just gonna say optimal versus not optimal. You go. Just whatever came to your mind when you got upset just now. What was it?
Oh no, the reason I was just like, everyone's talking about something and creating an argument out of something that's not in itself worth arguing about. That is like my honest opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
If the optimal and suboptimal crowd could actually define what those words mean, that would be a great starting point.
Yeah. I think I got upset with the fuck optimal thing because I was like, when I hear optimal, I'm like, what's the best thing for that individual to do in the moment? So then when I saw like fuck optimal, I was like, fuck you. Like, don't be disrespectful to the Gen Pop client and not actually think about how you're setting them up in a lift just because they're Gen Pops. Like, oh, just use a straight part, leave me alone. Like, put some thought into it for what that person is supposed to do. Do they want to buy Jace's cool little handles that he puts on and have fucking 800 pieces of equipment in their gym bag when they go to the gym every day?
Not have fucking losers tie knots in the fucking grips. Yeah.
Like they don't, and they don't care that there's knots tied in the grips. They don't have to spend half an hour in their workout undoing it. But I think it's disrespectful to anyone that's paying you not to look at every exercise in their program and make it the best it could be for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. I think it's like, not that it's a lazy mindset.
That's how it comes across, though.
It does to me.
I'm like,
It comes across like they just don't want to think individually for the person, and they just want to throw it across and go, "No, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't need to go that extra mile, so we're not going to bother."
A big thing we teach our interns is understanding that, okay, optimal, there is a bandwidth that's acceptable that we need to look at and be like, this is optimal movement. Anything outside of that, it's like, all right, maybe we're worrying about finer details that aren't important.
Yeah.
Or we need to find a more appropriate stimulus for that person at that time, like you said. And I think that's, once they start thinking about it in that way, that's like, oh, yeah, cool. Right. You know, we don't have to be super precise about everything, but there is a bandwidth of what is optimal.
Yeah. I think if you're an actual coach, and not just like one that uses it as identifying yourself on the internet.
You say that I throw shades.
You actually have a good needs analysis of each person, though.
Yeah.
And then you just go, right, well, this person can go that extra mile. It's actually worth it. You know, we can change these things, use whatever variations of exercise and stuff to suit their goals and whatever. You can't just sit there and go, oh, we don't need to do that.
No.
You know, you're a Gen Pop client, so you don't need to worry about, like, you know, biasing whatever muscle groups and stuff. It's like you're just Gen Pop, so we don't need to care. Just use the shit grip, even though you have the ability to use a better one.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like, if there's that disparity, it's like you got to go that extra mile. But if it's like, I don't know, fucking Jane who just started at the gym, it's like, think about the other things that from that needs analysis that would serve her better. Maybe just going, and maybe just training.
Yeah, and that's it.
And
It's like optimal for her is like, go in this machine.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to optimize your squat yet, just leg press.
Yeah, go 3 times a week.
You know what I mean? Like,
100%. And I think, like, even though we weren't going to talk about it, but I'll throw it in there. If you're running around saying, fuck optimal for your clients, but at the same time saying it all just boils down to compression and expansion, well then, like, what are you talking about? Like, you're literally just saying we don't need to confuse people, but instead we're going to confuse people.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, don't worry about this complicated shit, but worry about this complicated
Worry about
shit.
my complicated shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and it's just an attempt, I think,
That's a really interesting mindset, isn't it?
to be like contrarian. Like, I think a lot of those concepts come out for that express purpose.
Yeah.
Like, even I think the first time I ever heard about that whole compression expansion thing was Bill Hartman's blog. And in the first thing he said, you might think this is an attempt to be contrarian, which in many ways it is. But so he was, and he's really smart, and he tries to like stir the pot and get people thinking about different concepts. And then you've got people, trying to optimize movement, which I think is just marketing a lot of the time anyway. But there doesn't need to be like this mutually exclusive thing. Like it's not a case of, optimal means prime handles and fuck optimal means never change anything.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Just coach the person.
Yeah, just coach the person.
The person in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, meet their needs, pick the best thing available to them,
Yep.
and then
Do the
go
best
from
job
there.
you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where, as a coach, developing the toolbox is really important
Yeah.
because you know what the most appropriate tool at that time is.
And especially like if you go fuck optimal and like I'll just put a bar on their back, it'll be fine. It's like, yeah, cool. If it's going to take Susie 25 weeks to learn how to do a squat,
Yeah.
and you go,
Yeah.
we could have changed this,
Yeah.
but we didn't want to be too optimal, so instead we just persevered with this shit exercise. Well, like, which one's going to make
Who's
Susie's
the
going to be better off?
Who's
Like,
the better coach?
Yeah.
Who's the better coach who makes that decision?
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the upward trend of online coaching has encouraged this kind of like compression, expansion, overcomplication kind of world? Because it's like I live in this sphere where I just look at other coaches' stuff and do heaps of courses and want to be the smartest, but I'm not actually working with people face to face and having to progress and regress exercises consistently and all of that.
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's probably like, I don't want to get super deep here, but it's not just like our industry. It's like the whole world, right? When you stop interacting with people in person and you start only interacting with people online, and you can misinterpret things and things can really gain traction so fast. And, we're a very reactive industry anyway, where people will jump on bandwagons and all these kind of things. You see people getting heaps of likes, interaction by saying crazy shit. So then you start saying crazy shit. I think that's part of the problem because you just lose touch.
Because none of us are hot
Yeah.
enough to post just a Belfie and blow up.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Nah, correct.
But I think it's just a case of people losing touch with why they potentially started in the industry and then like what their clients want and need.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you talking about these concepts.
100%. It's definitely a disconnect. It's like, that lab coat world and then the real world and what's actually proven and what actually works.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like people shitting on, like all these science-based people, they have no real-world experience. But now, so many people don't have any real-world experience because they're just
Basically waiting
on
for
their phone.
science.
They
Just
started
like,
online, yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
What a world.
Amazing dog.
Yeah.
No.
No, fuck him.
Yeah. I try and, this is why I try and disconnect from that much stuff because like
It's just noise. Isn't it?
people in the fitness industry need to understand that they're part of like a very, very small part of the social media space in the world. And people who are then coaches, not even just people that are interested in fitness, are even an even smaller part. And then it's like we're immersing ourselves. We have to immerse ourselves in this environment. And then you just get caught and drawn into all the shit. And it's really just people trying to, crack the flare and be like, look at me.
Yeah.
So
I like that. Yeah.
it's not the best thing, and it's hard for people. We spoke about it yesterday. Like, how do you find someone who's good, and how do you find, where good information is and stuff? And it's like, like textbooks are great. Like they've been published, and there's been cited by evidence and stuff. It's a pretty good place to start. But if you don't want to read textbooks and you want to follow influencers and coaches and shit like that, it's like the message, the results, and then the information. It's like those three things together have to really kind of, and it's like, you want to be polarizing and stuff like that. Good on you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that's shifted is the results
Oh
are
man,
requiring less and less.
people don't look at there's fucking people out there. You want to get someone?
Here we go.
I'll fuck it in.
Come on, let it have it. Give it
There's
to 'em.
fucking people out there that give all this information and tell you how to do all this shit, and I haven't seen one fucking before and after photo. And I can name you a couple. I won't.
Go.
For politics purposes.
Yeah.
But
And the
it's
HR,
like,
hang on, Tam.
you don't see any, I got this person in this shape. I got this person lifting this much. I got this person to perform this way.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is fucking metabolic flexibility and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, so tell me where you used that in a case study with your clients. I've got fucking heaps of results.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, I can't regurgitate textbooks like other people, but it's like we've lost the ability to look at someone and go, oh, fuck, man, like that person, every time they work with somebody, gets really good results. Like UP. Like And they're fucking great from a results perspective, right? Amazing. Got so many good before and after photos. And it's like we've gone all the way now to being like, oh, where are the people regurgitating the information? Regurgitating information is fucking easy.
Yeah.
Like, I went to uni. Who got past university?
Yeah.
Like, when they were 18 to 22. Like, that's what regurgitating information is. And it's like, the people you guys need to follow are the ones getting results as well.
I think there's some really big names that Max and I have paid a lot of money that have fall into that category as well.
And it's like, if you're one of those people, show your fucking results.
Yeah.
But they don't train people.
Yeah, that's it. It's
Like that's where it gets crazy,
fucking
right?
blows my
'Cause you stop
mind.
actually
It's like-
working with people.
It's conceptual shit, and I don't think necessarily those people are the problem. Like, if you're super smart,
it's the
and
next
you're like, because you said I don't know what word you use, but I always use the word parrots. Like, it's an industry full of parrots where, like, you don't really know what the words mean, you don't really know how to use them, but you just say them because you're not just going to gain traction, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, even when I put the thing about like, I don't know, I've shadowed a lot of stuff, but it was like, compression, expansion, using the word thorax. Like, don't use the word thorax to talk about your clients, you idiot.
I believe the quote was something along the lines of like, "You're not wrong." No, it's the same as saying that you drove to work in your automobile. You're not wrong, but you sound like a fuckwit.
That's the one. Yeah. That was good.
I stand by that statement 100%. But like, again, it's the same thing though. It's like, like we can argue about this stuff. It's the same as we were saying yesterday with the Krebs cycle. It's not about it being right or wrong. It's about, is it adding value to the people that you claim to be serving?
Yeah.
And like, if it's not, well then why are we talking about it? Or like talk about it in the right context. Like, these are really interesting concepts that, I like to think about sometimes, but it's probably not how I write programs. Yeah. Like, if you can honestly come to me and say, I write my programs based on people's ability to compress and expand, like, you don't. Without diverting back to something else that's far simpler.
Yeah.
Like, everybody does, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, mid-episode plug. The bigger... What is? Do you do the name? Because you called it something special. You changed the
go for
it's
it.
intensive, isn't it?
It's the intensive. Bigger, stronger, faster.
It's really organised. Can you tell?
Yeah, it's bigger, stronger, faster, 1 day intensive.
Yeah.
So
August 12th.
August 12th, you get everybody in this room, including Tam. He'll be there. Basically touching on how to get your clients bigger, which will be Jace.
Yeah.
How to get hypertrophy. A little bit of how to achieve optimal hypertrophy, if you will. We'll be talking about how to get your clients stronger, how to get your clients faster, and then most importantly, we'll talk about how you can do all of those things, because that's what most clients want. Like, I think it's safe to say, like, a lot of coaches can probably get people bigger or get people stronger, get people faster, but to do them concurrently or to be able to do them back to back in a logical sequence, I don't think many coaches can actually do that.
And I would go as far as to say that's the next trend.
I think it is. I think
Gary Vee, Tam, real next fitness trend, concurrent training, people being bigger, stronger, and having the performance element.
Yeah, I think it's going to be massive.
Of CrossFit, just
but not shit.
periodized properly.
Periodized properly. I mean, I think
and not like 30 kilo people 30 kilos overweight, just like day one. Here's a clean.
Yeah, I think it definitely is, because more and more people, like, if you said to them, "Oh, do you want to build muscle?" They're like, "Oh yeah, sweet." But if you told them, "Hey, do you want to build muscle at the expense of another quality?" They're like, "Oh, no, I don't want that." Like, I want to be bigger, but I still want to be strong. Like, I don't want to be all show no go. And actually, I want to be able to do some cool shit as well. Yeah, it's like, like, I think you're right. Like, that's what people actually want, even if they can't fully articulate
it.
Like, one of the questions we ask in like our onboarding sales process is, because you ask people what their goal is, right? People, in my experience, they don't even know what their goal is. Like, they'll give you something and it's like,
It's just vanilla.
yeah, it's like, oh, this, I just want to be a bit healthier. Or like, or even if it is like, I want to drop 10 kilos or I want to deadlift 20 kilos more. We ask this, what's it called? The Dan Sullivan question.
Dan Sullivan question, yeah.
It's like, hey, Carl, if we were sitting here, a year from today, 6 months from today, what would have needed to happen for you to be just fucking pumped with your progress?
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh, it'd be great if, this, and this. And it's always concurrent shit. It's never like, I mean, maybe if you're working with like bodybuilders or powerlifters, it's like, I just want to add 100 kilos to my total. I don't care about anything else. Or I just want to add, 5 kilos of muscle. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
That's rare in our experience anyway.
Yeah.
It's typically like a multitude of things.
Yeah, definitely.
And as someone who's done that, it's fucking exhausting. As being that guy that I don't care. Whatever other trade-off, if my wife thinks I'm in physical pain from the other room when I'm putting on shoes, she's like, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm just putting my shoes on." Like, I don't care. My total went up. But that has an expiry date.
Yeah.
Everybody burns out, I think, unless you are like, one of like the 1%.
Well, and like when you're shit too. Like, I wasn't an amazing powerlifter, so it's like, cool. Like, I fucking can't put my shoes on and I came fourth. Woohoo! Like, at some point, you're just like, oh, why am I here doing this to myself?
Yeah.
100%.
So, yeah, and I think new people, more and more, and I don't know, it's always hard to tell, like, is it the sphere that you've put yourself in and the message that you're putting out that you're getting, but more and more the clients I hire are like, I just want to be a superhero.
Yep.
Like that's they start saying all the things and I'm like, so you just want to be a superhero? And they're like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty much like the holy grail,
Sweet.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a slam dunk of what you want to be as a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think for a lot of people, it's like, if you take out whatever the specifics of it, whether it's bodybuilding, powerlifting, whatever, it's like, why do people start going to the gym? Like when you were, a teenager.
Yeah.
For some people, it's like, I wanted to be a bodybuilder, but for a lot of people, it's like, I just want to
Get
I want
laid.
to be stronger. Yeah,
100%.
stronger. I want to look better. Get more Tinder matches in 2022. Like, all these things. Like, I don't think it was like as specific as we make it out to be sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when we get clients on, I've made the mistake of like trying to get their goals super specific for them, and then I put them like in a box.
Yeah.
And then like 3 months later, I'm having to like revisit it and be like, oh, okay. Maybe I assumed when they said that they meant this, but in reality, they just didn't really know how to say what they wanted.
Yeah.
So that's
true.
definitely something we've changed our approach.
The commitment's not there if there's hyper specificity for those people.
Yeah.
Not going to do whatever it takes. So then it's like, oh, this workout's not for me.
Yeah.
I missed this session. I did this, and it's like, okay, we put you in a box that we shouldn't have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So if we start with bigger, everyone stares at Jason.
Stop looking at me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
What would considerations, like we've done enough episodes on here talking about hypertrophy and stuff.
I think we've done 2.
Not enough, obviously. that was enough for me. What considerations, let's say, do you think of when someone says like they have that superhero goal? It's like, I don't just want to be a bodybuilder or whatever. I want to be.
So they want to look like Chris Hemsworth and Thor.
Yeah,
actually be.
I want to be. I want
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I basically want to be Goku.
Yeah.
Look sick, be able to move well, be able to run on the dragon for like 3 fucking seasons or whatever. Like whatever it takes. What are the considerations in terms of programming for hypertrophy for that person? What are you thinking of?
I think the needs analysis comes down first. So that's going to be the first part of like what we talk about. Because if you're really small, you need to be really big. So it just depends. Like if you're really small, but you're fast and you're strong, then you need to become bigger first. If you're bigger and you're slow and you're strong, then you need to get stronger, faster first. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, or if you're really strong and you're kind of big, it just depends. And then we kind of go like, we always talk about the Goosebump books where you get to like that page and it tells you like to go to page 30 for this or page 70 for that.
Goosebumps. That's so good.
Yeah. And
Flashback.
It's like, so we're kind of the same when it comes to that perspective. And then it's just like, we talk about that Venn diagram again. In my opinion, it's like, well, almost every rep that you do, providing it's stimulatory, is going to have some anabolic effect.
Yep.
Almost, right? Especially if you're creating the right environment outside of the gym. So it's just about how much of that dial do we turn up whilst we're working on those other things. Now, if you got someone who's not too big, then it's like, okay, well, you're probably going to do a little bit more volume traditionally than you're doing now. And the movements are going to be probably allowing you to do that, make them repetitive and all of those kind of things. So that's probably where I would go first. And then it's like, realistically, the fundamentals and the principles that guide us all fall into place for that person for a short period of time. Yeah. And then you're working on like, okay, well, how much of a degree of strength do we need to keep in the program to maintain it? And how much of a degree of speed work or we'll call it speed work for now, because that's all I know. in the program to continue to keep the adaptations that person has. And that's where I think when we talk about this stuff, that daily undulating periodization method would be, in most cases, the most advantageous for someone like that.
Yeah.
Because you can do a little bit of strength, you can probably do a fair bit of hypertrophy, and then you probably can do a little bit of like the speed work as well, or the faster work.
Yep.
And then you're just switching it.
That sounds really familiar.
Mm.
I think I've got a program that looks pretty similar to that.
No, I really, because the bucket analogy, I really like the dials. It's like, depending on what is that low hanging fruit straight away. It's like, and then how you structure your training week, how you structure your training session.
Yeah, like if we take the four of us in this room, it's like every dial's different. We all start at a different point. It's
Some of us have got far too much muscle mass.
Yeah. Some of us are extremely fast.
I was trying to get Jason to run on the
that could be our promo.
on the run. Yeah,
We just do a running race together. Who's you got money on to do a hamstring? Who will finish the race?
We'll all pick like one of the characteristics we're terrible at and do a 12-month case study, and then we resell the course.
I would take so much trend.
we had Jace on the running mill at the gym the other day, and I was like, I'm pretty sure your heel's supposed to actually come above your knee at the back. It was just like, nah, man, it's just it's not happening.
Nah, we leave the floor like that much.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So for you two guys, more maybe coming from like through the lens of someone who's used to training athletes, what are the biggest mistakes you see them make trying to get someone bigger?
Do you want to go? Do you want me to go?
I just drank water. You go. At the worst time.
This is probably something I've changed my approach on. And I know Karl would be the same. So when I first came through that like Mike Boyle kind of school of thought, is big on like this open chain, closed chain. Like everything has to be functional, right? So if it's not functional in your athlete, like don't do it.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
No leg extensions, mate.
yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. Nowadays, like consideration comes back to, as Jace was saying, like going back to that needs analysis, but then also me thinking about if there's a concurrent goal, we also need to think about like the efficiency of what we're doing. Because we do have like a finite amount of training volume we can do. So to make sure everything in there is going to provide, the outcome that we want.
Return. Yep.
So for me, I think more athletes should train like bodybuilders. I genuinely do. And I don't mean that you should do that at the expense of doing athletic training. I'm not saying, go spend 12 weeks only doing machines. But if you go like, oh, we should, it used to be like, oh, you don't do like seated rows. You got to do like bent over rows.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, hang on a minute. This person's also doing all this other training. I can probably do far more volume on the seated row without as much like global fatigue. So I'm probably going to go for that one.
Yeah.
And the same goes for like lower body stuff, upper body stuff, definitely. So yeah, for me, I think that's probably one of the bigger mistakes. People think like, oh, I've got to do chin-ups. Couldn't possibly do lat pull-downs. I'm like, no, fuck the chin-ups.
Yeah.
Do lat pull-downs.
We have a lot of evidence now. I know, like even just me working with the people that I've worked with, I got a lot of evidence where like the crossover is way larger than people think from isolated exercise, especially when you're working with like gifted people. And when I say gifted people, like people that can control their movement in space with large amounts of weight. It's like I've got clients that hack squat, leg press, and leg extension, and then you go and put them on a high bar back squat, and they're like, "Oh, I PB'd.
Yeah.
This is my rep PB." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." It's like you don't forget how to fucking move.
I've had that heaps of times.
Or it's like 2 weeks to learn where to put the bar, and then it's like, all right, I'm way above. So the crossover is way higher than people think, and that's getting too bogged down in that hyper specificity that we spoke about before. It's like, I don't know if it drops off as much, maybe just for the people that we work with. It might drop off, if you're working in a particular sport and you do too much of that in comparative to other things, but I just haven't seen it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've seen it with injured powerlifters. It's like they have, you can't do the main lifts for 6 weeks because something's fucked. So you have to train inside these parameters,
train the
which
muscle
is like
instead of the movement.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, second week in, once they've kind of got that skill acquisition back, it's like, oh shit, like, amazing.
The last thing that I forgot to mention, like, just with the hypertrophy stuff, you can take the shit too far, and I'm sure you guys can take it too far with the faster stuff and the strength. And it's like, you probably only want to put on the mass that's going to serve you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
depending on the outcome you want, for sure.
Yeah, and it's like, we can get geeky as fuck, and you can talk about muscle fiber characteristics and rep ranges and all this shit, and it's like, probably only want to put the size on that's going to serve you. It's probably going to be best done in rep ranges that kind of really just stimulate those fast twitch fibers generally. Where like for me, it's like, I would try and get it all. So then it's like the rep ranges would be like up to 20, and then they'd be as low as 5. You know?
That's actually great. We talked about that on the
Yeah,
car,
yeah.
in the car on the way here. Like how we kind of approach it. And it is that kind of idea, like there's a lot of ways that you can stimulate muscle growth. Heaps. If we're talking about creating a more athletic individual, right, then it's like, as Jace is saying, we want to think about what is going to serve them best. And this is, you can take this idea too far as well. So like in certain muscle groups, like we know, and again, like you don't know this for every single person, so you have to assume, but let's just say like your quads, your chest, for example, there's probably going to be a higher degree of fast twitch muscle fibers in them, which means we can stimulate growth in them. Yes, you can do it a lot of ways, but you can stimulate growth by lifting heavy weights, but also by lifting weights fast as well. Like that's definitely still a valid way to do it. So you can do that. Would you then go and be like, oh, I'm going to do the same approach for my biceps? No, that's when you go, you've taken that concept too far. But for us, like the DUP method is definitely a go-to. The other one is using things like cluster sets. So you're going to accumulate volume. So let's just say I can do 4 sets of 10, or I can do 8 sets of 5. I'm doing 40 reps either way. One of them I'm going to shift more weight, and one of them I'm potentially going to be able to move that weight a lot faster as well. In theory, for the same like hypertrophic outcome. So that's where you can bias things, and that's, I guess, where in the seminar we'll go through these things where it's like, yeah, here's the rules, but you can use a lot of methods within that to bias a different outcome while still ticking these different boxes. And I think that's where, like, when I say a lot of people can get people strong, some people get fast, but it's like shit like that can be really make or break in terms of being able to do everything at the same time.
So if you go into stronger, you take that step. We're taking in that needs analysis, and we've identified this person probably actually just needs to be stronger. Again, same thing. What do we see people do wrong the most? And my first thought would just be like, lift too heavy too often.
I was literally about to say that. Overestimate how strong they already are. I think that's a big one. Like, I could
Try and max out.
What you want to aim on the bench? 100. When did you do that? 4 or 5 years ago. It's like, your starting point matters.
I think trying to express strength before they go through the phases of building it.
Even just knowing the difference between expressing and
everyone wants to know how strong they are, and everyone wants it to come sooner. But it's like there's a lot of things that have to happen for you to be in a good position to express the strength. You got to practice expressing the strength, and then you also have to be in a position to build it. And you probably, in some instances, need to get into a position before you build it. It's like if you're not moving well, if there's things that need to be addressed, it's like probably got to do that first, then start the accumulation, and then.
I think that's massive.
Do you guys? Sorry.
There you go.
Do you guys subscribe to the like strength standard concept that like once you hit, 2 times body weight for males, squat and dead, 1.5 bench, like anything beyond that's a point of diminishing return for an athlete?
Look, not really. I think it depends on the athlete and like what you're preparing them for,
and the demands. The
demands of the sport. Like, and then also like, what are you going to do, like, once they get there? Just, like, stop getting stronger. Like, stop training. That's the other thing. That's usually my question. It's like, so, like, okay, cool. I've squatted double my body weight. I guess, like, what? Now I just, like, try and maintain. Guess what? You give an athlete the goal of maintaining. How's their performance going to be? Shit.
Especially if their body composition's involved in the sport. It's like, usually if your body composition's better, that ratio gets skewed. So... I mean, I know there's exceptions to everything, but...
I think there's a point of diminishing returns, though. Like, it's like, okay... And not only that is it diminishing returns, it's also a case of the cost of improvement becomes far higher. How hard is it to get someone to squat 200 kilos? How hard is it to get someone to squat 300 kilos? One's far harder than the other, right? So it's a point where you go...
200's pretty hard, man.
I know. Trust me. I've only just done it. But, like, if you're going to do that, you're like, we're going to have to sacrifice something else to get there. For a lot of people. Like, there's obviously some freak people. But I think, it's probably a good, like those guidelines are probably there for a reason, right? They are guidelines. So I think there's a point where getting stronger is then going to come at the expense of something else. And we don't necessarily want that.
And I guess depending on the quality, so strength, power, speed, hypertrophy, they'll have a delayed training effect in terms of when... we have to give them a more frequent dose of whatever that is.
Yeah.
Obviously, power and speed more frequently, whereas you can hold on to strength and muscle size for longer before you have to give it some stimulus to be able to maintain.
That is a really good point as well. Once
So
you've
then-
got it,
yeah.
it doesn't really drop off if you
No,
use it.
especially if you go like, we talk about those who did the volume landmarks, like
Mike.
Mike Patel. I think they're reasonably useful. Just the idea that like what it takes to build it is not the same as what it takes to maintain it.
Yeah, that's it. Just anecdotally, anything between 4 and 6 hard sets a week would be enough to just.
Yeah.
Like it takes 14 to 21 days for the process of atrophy to occur with no stimulation at all.
Before he starts to like detrain.
Yeah, and that's nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so you go.
Could be significantly less, even like we just don't know, and probably would never find out.
No.
Hey, you see it too. Like you go on holidays, take a month off, you come back. It's like the first week's rough because you just deconditioned, but then like within 2-3 weeks,
Just
you're
way
back to
less
the
because
same
you have
numbers.
less muscle glycogen.
Well,
So
there's that too. Yeah,
that the super compensation is just depleted, and your body's like, hang on a second, we don't need to refill it, so you just lose weight.
Yeah.
It's funny, sometimes it can work the flip way, where if you've, in terms of what you've been doing in the lead up, where if you have a week off or, 10 days, and then you go and then you PB and you're like, wow, because you just removed that residual
just
fatigue.
needed to rest.
Yeah, and now
Just
super
overreaching.
compensate, you're like, how good is this? Yeah.
Yeah, I think defining what the client, like if we move away from athlete, because everyone's Gen Pop, if we look at like, well, what does the client define strength as well? Like Max said earlier, like accidentally putting people in a box. As someone who works with a lot of powerlifters and who does powerlifting, someone says, I want to be strong. I'm like, so you want to squat, bench, deadlift, 1 RM on the same day. And we're going to add all those numbers up. And that's what strength means. It's like, nah.
Yeah.
I need to carry this. I need to carry the shopping bags from the car.
Yeah, I've made that
Like-
mistake before.
Yeah.
Actually, I just want to be able to plank for a minute. I'm like, okay, cool. Good thing we've been doing 5x5 for 3 months.
Strength is so general, hey.
Yeah, so it's
Doing
identifying
more than you did last week. You're stronger.
what they would care about to measure their strength.
Yeah, I love that.
And then start to work on that. And then again, it's like, well, do you care if it's for 1 or if it's for 5? Because doing it for 1, like you said, it's the same kind of conversation as that 200 versus 300. It's like we have to go to tap into a lot more resources to do a single than we do for 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like when we go back to the difference between powerlifting to strength training. Like there's a massive skill component. Like most people don't fail 1 RMs necessarily because they're not strong enough. Like sometimes they do.
Yeah.
But if you're not used to the feeling of that bar on your back, like that's why you're doing doubles, singles, triples for so long beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think people often make the mistake of being like, oh, if I want to get stronger, I just need to do like heavy triples for ages. It's like, no, probably not.
Yeah.
And especially not in our context of like, hey, we also want to get bigger and potentially faster. It's like, we probably get just as much benefit doing sets of anywhere from like, I don't know, 5, 8 reps, something like that on your key compounds. And then like, if you want to peak, but understanding that peaking is really just like, obviously, yes, you're still going to be getting stronger, but a lot of that's just skill of the actual movement.
Yeah. And even like you said like, watching other people do the heavy sets for ages. Usually they only do 1.
Yeah.
Most strength focused athletes will do a top set and then back off at like 80%. It's like, well, you could have just done 3s or triple or 5s, like at the same weight all the way through and being able to recover from
they
it.
find that daily max and work at a percentage of that.
Yeah. So I think that would be the thing that people get wrong most of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, it's probably a case of like social media contributes to that, right? Because you just look around and
Looks cool when you lift.
yeah, it's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, I better do that because I want to post that. I want to get more likes. And it's like, yeah, you probably don't get as many likes if you're like, yeah, I just did 4x8 today.
I had someone message me the other week, like they were asking me about competing or something, and they were like, "Oh, so is that why you like just doing heaps of like rehab stuff at the moment?" And I was like, "Because I'm on one leg, it's rehab." Like, like no, it's
'Cause
still
you're not maxing out.
Yeah, it's still
rehab.
taken to like. Even then, it's like I'm still taking that to like within 2 reps of failure. Like it's not.
It's funny. That's like people
Not
think
cool.
that like because when we program like as a general rule, like our template for Gen Pop, because everyone's Gen Pop, will be like foundation, we'll do a build, and then we'll do like a peak, right? And it's like the foundation phase is like we've just done a whole bunch of heavy stuff. We'll go do some unilateral stuff. And people always have this idea that like, oh, it'll be easy for 4 weeks. And I'm like, fuck, this is so hard. I'm like, yeah. Like just because we're like introducing more variety doesn't mean it's gonna be easy.
Yeah,
in fact, in many ways, it's gonna be harder. It's
Yeah.
gonna be far more like DOMs than you're gonna have from doing like just standing in the same place, squatting up and down.
The first time you programmed me the banded lateral lunges or lateral squats. Fuck, man.
And the band's there to make it easier as well.
My glutes walking from the functional space in the gym to the hack squat to then attempt the hack squat were already cramping. I was like, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah.
This is not going to go well for me.
Yeah, it's not a good sign.
Yeah.
That's good.
So Jason and I are just going to shut up for the next 10 minutes.
I know.
What is speed?
Mm-hmm.
How do we define it? If I come in and say I want to be faster, or like you mentioned, like the word power probably overlaps as well. What is it? How do we measure it? How does it apply to that Gen Pop client who's not specifically like, I actually want to be able to catch someone and tackle them on the weekend?
Yeah. So I guess the definition of speed is distance over time. So meters per second. So it's like how quickly can I get from point A to point B in the shortest amount of time? But I guess for us, when we're talking about, Gen Pop, we're probably looking at just speed of movement more so than anything. Because, someone's goal might not be to run 100 meters as fast as they can. We want our clients to be able to lift heavy, to be strong, but also if they needed to jog, they can.
Yeah.
But, in an athletic setting, again, if we're talking more of a sporting environment, it's going to be different. It's going to be dependent on what their context in terms of their sporting environment is going to influence that. And that's going to be different for a track athlete, who's running 100 meters, where it's going to be really much uninterrupted, where they're just going in a straight line.
Do you think that Gen Pop client's just looking for that like bouncy feel? It's
to feel springy, to feel light, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of the stuff
that's something that you haven't experienced for a long time, mate.
Every now and then it kind of pops into my mind. But it's just the desire to be massive just outweighs
Overweight.
It's not worth it.
Not yet.
Yeah. So I think when speed and power when it comes to Gen Pop is more just the intent of the movement a lot of the time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And I think it's, as you say, it's like for them, a lot of the time they describe it as like a feeling.
Yeah.
Of like, And so, like, that's always hard to quantify, obviously. But it's like, sometimes to understand, like, what they want, you have to, like, ask them what they don't want. And if it's like, oh, I'm low on energy, I just feel, like, so heavy all the time. And it's for them, it's, like, feeling fast. Like, I feel, like, light and springy and, like, I can just get up out of a chair really quickly. And you go, like, you guys did, like, exercise science at uni. Like, it's, like, you do those, like, older adults units. And I did EP, so it's really big on this. It was, like, that sit to stand thing that you do with elderly people. And you go... I'm getting people in their 30s telling me that like it's hard for them to do the shit that you meant to do with like the 80-year-old ladies. It's like I think it's stuff like that, like being able to like just get up and go, and not feel like, which is how I feel most of the time. It's like, let's go. Like I think it's things like
very
that.
audible when I move.
Actually demoed something on the ground yesterday and just like popped up, and I was like, oh,
here we go.
What is this?
Get that spring. Yeah.
But yeah, like having not had it, or having had it for so long as a kid, playing so much sport. And then even going through like boxing phase and CrossFit phase and stuff. And then just like all I did for 5 years was train in straight lines with heavy weights. To now like grabbing a medicine ball and throwing it against the wall. And then like 3 weeks later, you're like, oh, that made a louder slap. Like, but you're right. It is hard to quantify as someone who's so numbers driven. It's so like this many sets, this much reps, this much weight, this rep and reserve, whatever, and you can look at it and go, yes, I'm getting better. But the speed thing, it's so hard to quantify because it is a feeling.
Yeah, and I think like our thing is we want to be able to expose our Gen Pop clients to working at different speeds, different ranges of motion, because from a overall body function resiliency, they're going to feel better day to day, and they're going to be able to, like we said, function better. Because unfortunately, as we age, power output, all that sort of stuff, that's going to decrease. And, with the muscle mass, that's all contributing to that. And then the things like falls and all that sort of stuff become really prevalent. So, if we can have some aspect of some form of power work or speed work, and again, we're just trying to move either our body weight or object with some sort of intent, then we can hold on to those qualities for longer.
Yeah, I think that's massive, like with older adults especially. It's like, yes, they lose strength, but they also lose the ability to produce that force quickly enough. And that's like really falling is, right? So it's like your center of mass moves outside, you start to fall and you don't have the ability to move fast enough to correct yourself. So like if through training, you can hold on to that. Like for your clients in their 30s, don't care. 40s, they'll be like, oh, that's interesting. 50s, they'll be like, oh, shit, actually. Like that's really important to me. The ability to, like not fall, not need a hip replacement, things like that.
Yeah, and even like we will dose those sort of things, and a lot of our clients wouldn't even know that we're doing it within our movement prep, which is our structured warm up, where we do some reactive drills with them. So they've got to respond to an audible clap or one of our calls, and it might be something where they're doing just pogos. Obviously, you'll be familiar with those, Ben, and then a little snap down or something like that, where they've got to be able to rapidly absorb the force and create that pre-tension that's needed. So little things like that are pretty cool because they don't obviously. We'll try and explain this is why we're doing it, but until it actually like clicks for them, they understand that. Yeah.
I remember doing it with boot camp clients just for entertainment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
you
it's
gamify it a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's like an enjoyment. out
Yeah,
of
but
it.
even myself, I was like, oh, they just need to move for an hour, so this is
Yep.
fun. We'll just do it. But now, like, having it taken away, gave it away. I didn't have it taken. I gave it.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah, going through that process and then not having it, it was just like, fuck. One of my biggest moments was about like falls. So I went down like a tube slide with my nephew.
Yep.
And it was pretty low to the ground, like only like a few inches, the lip to the ground. And I got to the bottom, I saw it coming, and I just did not have the ability to get my feet down and do any kind of stand-up motion. So I just came straight out on the end and landed flat on my back. So everyone was just like, my wife was there, my friends, they were just killing themselves laughing. I was like,
Has he coccyx?
yeah, this isn't great. So I think for most people, like I said before, like at that time I didn't care.
Yeah.
But for most people, they don't want to feel like that.
No.
Like look at a playground and go,
Can't.
oh fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's massive. You're right for most, because like most people we talk to, it's like, yeah, I want to be able to like do this, keep up with kids, do this. I feel like most people don't want to be in a position where they can't do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much what it is, isn't it?
Yep. How much do you ever consider this in physique training, if at all?
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
No. I think that's part of the course, right?
100%.
It's like you choosing that's your outcome. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's like the other thing we were saying, like, yes, you're at the same time completely willing, and you should have your eyes open that you are going to get worse in these other areas. That's fine, and that's definitely true for sport as well.
Yeah.
It's not like you're magically going to get better in all these areas. Like, hey, guess what? You're not going to walk real well when you're 40 if you've been a professional athlete all the way through your 20s.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that knee replacement's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it is. It's coming for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even like this seminar it'll be important to, I guess, communicate that when you're communicating with clients. Because I know like as probably a younger coach, that awareness probably wasn't there. It was just like, if you want to improve your physique, just train like a bodybuilder. If you want to improve your strength, train kind of like a powerlifter and don't peak. And you forget these other elements.
Yeah.
And to even explain that like, hey, there is a trade-off.
Yes.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
If you are, let's go. If you're not, like, let's not. And I think we've almost done it like intuitively by accidents. Like before you compete, let's do a photo shoot.
Yep.
And then before you do a proper powerlifting meet, let's do a lift off, which is just like testing one time. And it's like, did you have fun? They're like, I couldn't remember my fucking address a week out from comp. It's like, and it's like, that's no, that's not okay. And I'm like, yeah, that's normal. So
Yeah.
So it's like, well, let's not keep competing because that's probably not
You know what you want
the
to do.
outcome
you really
that
want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of exposes that indirectly, but I think being conscious of it from the start of being like, this is the goal, this is the trade-offs, are you willing to pay them? And then I think for most coaches, they either aren't aware that they're creating trade-offs because they're 20 and they have never experienced them because they still move around and do all the things anyway all the time. So they're not aware of them and they're not aware of what it's like to be 35, 40, 45, 50.
Be broken.
And they're having those people come into the gym and try and train them. Or like you have the example I use all the time is like women stop, or like younger, I guess, girls stop doing exercise. Grade 6, it stops being cool. Maybe earlier. There's like, how often did you see girls running around in high school?
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Pretty rare.
Yep.
So unless they played structured sport or something like that, then they stopped exercising. They maybe walked, they maybe whatever. Maybe they went to the gym a little bit. And then it's like they have a kid or they have 2 kids. They're like, body composition's not really where I want it to be. I really need to go join the gym.
Yeah.
And they fucking haven't moved for 15, 20 years, even though they're 30. Like, and people don't kind of have that sort of knowledge. So it's like, you actually have to talk to them about this stuff what is the overall package of what you want to do? It's like, oh, I need to be able to move better and lose weight and do this and do this.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think the more and more like you dig, it's just like a lot of it is just longevity in and outside of what you're doing from a training and whatever that activity is that you want to do.
Yeah.
Day to day. Yeah.
Yeah. And awareness from the trainer of knowing all of those things.
Yeah.
Because like I wish I felt 20 again.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Definitely. I think as well, like sometimes it's the inexperience of the trainer. Like how many, I don't know what the percentage would be, how many girls that end up doing a bikini show, for example, actually wanted to do a bikini show when they first started training with someone?
Yeah.
Or was it like someone's like, oh yeah, I just want to get in shape. Like I want to do this, want to do that. And the coach's like, oh, hey, it would be a really great idea if you did a bikini show. And then they say, oh yeah, that sounds great. But without pre-wording them like, oh, by the way, this is going to be like 20 weeks where it's not fun at all. Like, that's what it is. Same thing with like...
Bikini, it's not that hard. Half my clients fucking hate me right now.
But same with powerlifting, same with like a lot of stuff we've done. It's like, oh, yeah, just want to get a little bit stronger. I'll tell you, it'd be really great.
Yeah.
Jump in this comp. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, you didn't tell me that like I'd feel like I've been run over for a truck for 3 months straight.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's important as well. So I think what you guys said, that's a great idea. Like, hey, we'll do a photo shoot first. Hey, we'll do a lift off first. Great idea. Because then at least you go in with your eyes open.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, hang on a minute. This isn't the promised land
Yeah.
that I thought it would be.
Yeah. And before you spend thousands of dollars on extra shit to go and actually do the sport.
Yeah.
The sport. You know,
The activity.
everyone's jump up.
Everyone's
Activity.
Awesome. So August 12th.
August 12th.
August
Yep.
12th.
Times, details, locations. What suburb are you guys?
Ringwood.
In Ringwood. So yeah, Tam will have the website up, ready to go.
Yep.
Early bird special of $99.
Which is outrageous.
So get in really quickly before they sell out, because we do have over $350 worth of giveaways included in the ticket before you even fucking come. So
Yeah. So you get all that straight
it'd be
away.
worth just buying it for that.
Purely that.
Yeah, even if you don't come.
Yeah, and we'll just all hang out together by ourselves
100%.
and rag
Just
on the
work
crep
out.
cycle for 3 hours.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Where do we find you guys?
In Ringwood. No, so we you can find us on Instagram. So
Yes.
what is it? Performance Hub?
Performance Hub.
That's what the Instagram
That's
is.
the name of my business.
Performance Hub Melbourne, I think is our Instagram.
Yeah.
Something like
handle,
that.
Yes.
And then, my Instagram is not representative of Carl on the Performance Hub. So don't search me, search Carl.
Everyone's just like, yeah, but where's the salt? We want to find the salt.
Yeah, they're
Where's the
gonna.
salt?
Yeah.
What's he said? Some stupid shit, guys.
Enjoy
Follow
it.
what I
It's
say, not what I do.
Yeah. So hit up either of the Instagrams, so at STCfit_learning. Just hit the link in bio and you'll find your way through to the tickets and you'll be able to get them. Anything else to add? No. Awesome
I'm
chat.
too hungry to care.
Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jonas.
Cheers. Cheers.